Hi, and welcome to the Bottom Line. I'm Paul Steele. I'm the pastor at Bethlehem Church in Austin, Minnesota. The Bottom Line is our weekly summary of this week's sermon. And we are in a sermon series entitled Living by Faith as we look at the book of James. James is a letter found in the New Testament written by the half-brother of Jesus. And in this letter, James shares his wisdom for how to live a Christian life, how to live as a disciple. That's the question that we often come to the Bible with, right? How should we live? How should I live my life? And the answer that we find in the book of James, the answer that James gives to us is that a disciple of Jesus lives each day by faith. A disciple of Jesus lives each day by faith. But, right, that's easier said than done. When life happens, when troubles come our way, how do you live by faith? And in our sermon text from this week, James chapter 1, verses 2 through 18, we discover that James taught there are three responses or three ways that we need to respond to the hardships, to the difficulties that we have in life. First, James tells us that we are to respond with joy. He says to consider it joy when all these various troubles come your way. Now, the reason we respond with joy is not because these things are enjoyable, because they're not. They're hard, they're difficult, they're painful. So we don't respond with joy because they're enjoyable, but because we know that through them, God is shaping us. He's shaping our character. He's helping form us to be the people He wants us to be. So there's this hope that through them, God is making a difference. See, that means that the focus is not on our struggles, but on God's character, on what He is doing. We're to respond with joy, but we also to respond with wisdom. James says, hey, if you lack wisdom, then ask God, and God's going to give it to you generously. See, we need wisdom to figure out how do we live life. Wisdom is the knowledge is the godly knowledge for living life well. So how are we going to navigate this life with all of its various hardships, struggles, troubles, difficulties that come our way? Well, we need wisdom. We need to ask God for His wisdom. How do we manage this? How do we live like Jesus in these situations? And so this becomes a daily prayer for us. It might become an hourly prayer for us as we're trying to navigate all these relationships, as we try to navigate all these difficulties. How do we respond like Jesus as His disciples? We need God's wisdom. And then we need to respond with trust. We need to trust in God and His character. That it's not God causing all of these. God is using them to form us, but the good things come from God, and God wants to bless our lives. See, God doesn't change. He created us in His image to be His representatives in this world, to demonstrate His character. He wants us to succeed. So God is going to redeem our pain. He's going to redeem these struggles. And in return, He's going to give us peace, hope, and joy. So we trust in God. Our bottom line this week is this: a disciple of Jesus endures the difficulties of life as they hope for God's blessings. A disciple of Jesus endures the difficulties of life as they hope for God's blessings. And our challenge is to send an encouraging note to someone we know who is going through a difficult time. It's one of the blessings of being part of the church, is to be there to encourage one another as we go through these things. So have a wonderful rest of the week. I hope you can join us on Sunday for our live stream or in person. Keep on following Jesus, and God bless.